Hey man, 935 KD 90s hip hop. My name is Noah Ayala, and this one, Paulina, you know when people say it's for the culture, this one's for the culture? This one right here really is for the culture. I still don't know what that means really, but this one's for the culture though.
Go ahead.
All right, so real quick, before I introduce our guest, I talk about this on the radio. I've lived in Southern California for, 15, 16 years now. But where it all started is I grew up in the 209 in Stockton, California, man.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? And I know a lot of y'all watching this are probably from the Bay or got family in the Bay. And the Bay, it's just a little bit different, man. LA is a beautiful place, and I love LA. I ain't never leaving LA.
Indeed.
But, the Bay isn't LA. And when I say the Bay, I'm encompassing Stockton, Sacramento, all that, man, the whole Northern Cali. So this next guy is a legend where I come from.
Hey.
And I use legend in every sense of the word. I remember being in high school, middle school. People are like, hey, man, you heard this guy? He does all of his raps from jail over the phone. And I mean, everybody's bumping this man. He's getting as much props as, the E40s and Too Shorts and all that. They look at him in the same light. The man I'm talking about right now, though, XRaided.
Hey. Hey.
What up, man?
That was phenomenal, man. I don't know if I could have said that better than that. That was well done.
Growing up in the Bay, I never thought in a million years I'd have this interview.
Yeah, me either, actually. I had faith, though. I prayed for it. I worked for it, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
There was just no way to know this moment would happen. It's beautiful.
So, I don't even know where to start at this point, man. How many albums do you have?
Man, somewhere about probably a couple dozen of them I've done so far. Couple dozen of them. I don't count them all as albums, like street albums.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Sacramento.
Grew up in Sacramento.
What was that like when you start rapping coming out of Sacramento?
Wow. Well, growing up in Sacramento, people know about the culture. A lot has been said about the street life out there. It's a real turbulent area.
Yeah.
Those turbulent times. I'm a product of the 80s, the Reaganomics, baby. So I was out there when it was really, really, really getting cracking with the epidemic, the war on drugs and all of that, and how that impacted families from my particular culture. And so I was running the streets, and, when my grandmother died, it fractured the family. And while the adults were grieving, the children were in the streets doing what they do.
Right.
And so a lot of that for me encompassed like rhymes, pop the trunk, beats playing, people drinking, the girls out there. And I used to just freestyle for the homies. Tell stories about adventures and stuff like that, rhyme it up, and they loved it. I kept doing that, and next thing you know, I started making tapes with friends from from continuation schools that I ended up in as a result of gang activity. And those tapes ended up in the hands of Cedric Singleton. As Cedric Singleton did his magic, that ended up in the hands of people like Brian Shafton, Priority Records, and the rest is history.
So when did you release like your first street album, mixtape?
My first street album dropped in 1990, in the winter of 1990. That long ago, man.
Damn.
Before the Chronic.
Damn. This is pre-incarceration, right?
Yeah, pre-incarceration.
And dude, I remember like people. The thing you got to realize about the Bay is that like the indie artists are looked at in the same light as the mainstream artists,
if not bigger.
Yeah. Yeah,
you get more play if you're from, the local region up there than you do if you're from anywhere else. They real serious about that. It's an esoteric culture in a way. They real focus on their own thing. They communicate with their own language, their own swag. But once they got you forever. And we got other pockets in the country like that. It's like that in Houston.
Yeah.
They real serious about keeping they on. If you make it and get on, they keep you forever. Memphis is like that, if you make it there. But the Bay is just a special animal. Northern Cali, the Valley, it's a very specific animal when it comes to how they feel about their own. Somebody like a Too Short could have almost a 40-year career, because no matter how he fell anywhere else, they ain't gonna never let him fall any farther than what they willing to carry him at. He gonna always be who he is because of where he's from to those people. E40's the same way.
Yup.
It don't matter who else stopped listening to 40, he gonna always have that particular audience because they proud to have him. And for whatever reason, I've been blessed to be kept that way too.
Right. And you definitely are held in that regard, man. So we got the album out. And then what happens between the album coming out and you getting incarcerated? Like,
yeah, man, I was running the streets. I was reckless. I didn't have guidance. My parents, both, actually, I'm in the streets of South Sacramento. I'm on Munson Way and Florin Road in 1992.
okay, I know where that's out.
Yeah, you know what I mean? and it's it's cracking in that whole area, 29th Street, that whole area, and both my parents were out of state. One was in Texas, one was in Alabama. I'm just turned 17 years old on the streets on my own, and so I wasn't making the best decisions. I had just finished making Psychoactive, my what would be my national debut album, and I ended up caught up in gang politics, and next thing you know, we all arrested, all of us, my little crew. Everybody got arrested, man. Now,
the arrest was for, you guys pulled a robbery, right? And then somebody ended up getting shot and killed.
No, it was a gang-related homicide. So we specifically got arrested for a gang retaliation. One of our associates, unfortunately, was killed.
Damn.
I'm sure the city could relate to that right now. A lot of speculation as to who did it. Some conclusions got jumped to. And, we took actions that led to tragic outcomes, And so as a child, that meant different things to me than what it means to me right now.
Right.
But I was arrested and charged with gang-related homicide, ultimately convicted, along with 4 others. One testified against us. We were sentenced respectively to 25 to life, 15 to life, 25 to life, and 31 to life for me.
Damn, what is that feeling like when you hear those numbers, man?
At the time, I had a feeling, I knew that was going to happen. Mm-hmm. They put me in the Sacramento County Jail with the adults.
How old were you?
I was 17.
Damn.
On my 18th birthday, they sent me to the Sacramento County Jail from juvenile hall. And I try to have empathy for myself because as a child, I got some partners. You have a 17-year-old child. You look at that child now and you can see like, wow, what did I do?
And that's a child. That's a kid, man.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally. So I was a child. But I ended up in the county jail with men who were in and out of prison. For my particular charges, I was in 300 pod with everybody else. And people were coming and going in and out of the pen. And they like, straight up, man, you on your way to prison. Damn. That's all there is to it. And so they started, work out, learn how to make knives. Like I started getting that kind of education out immediately. Like, look, man, it's high risk. You want to be in a situation. You well known. Prepare yourself. So I was just working out and kind of looking at trial as a formality. In this area, Snoop Dogg's on trial for murder. Tupac is on, already like upstate in New York for the alleged rape charges. Mike Tyson.
Yeah, and what people don't remember too
O.J.
is
Simpson.
In that time, there was a certain temperature, especially towards black males.
Truly.
I mean, there's a temperature now, but I think back then it was even more intensified, especially hip-hop.
It was blatant then.
Yeah.
Now it's dog whistle. Back then it was just blatant language.
Yeah, they just yelled that shit out.
Yeah, you going to jail, we locking you up. You're a suspect. We believe you're A, B, C, or D. That was the way we lived our lives. So there was a certain psychological disposition. Nihilism was just a fact of life for us. We felt like, today is the last day of my life anyway.
Yeah.
And so that's how I lived. I woke up ready to die, and I went to sleep ready to die, and that's all there was to it.
Damn, that's crazy to even hear somebody like describe any situation like that, like waking up ready to die,
Literally.
Going to sleep ready to die. So when you're in those circumstances, you're in jail, you're basically facing 25 to life. You ain't getting out anytime soon. What makes you say, yo, I'm going to start rapping from jail? Because I'm going to be real with you. If I'm locked up 25 to life, any amount of time for my ass, I'm not going to feel like doing. I'm going to be so depressed and I'm not going to want to do nothing, man.
Well, see, I watched that. I watched people in there, they pass out medication. You know what I mean? Oh, I got a hangnail. Okay, take this Cinequan. They're going to give you something real powerful for that. And so I watched that happening, and I knew that wasn't for me. Although I didn't correctly use it all the time, I was fond of my mind. I was fond of it. My mother made sure that I was, self-educated and educated by her. And so I was fond of my thoughts. I didn't want to lose that. I saw men who didn't have control of their psychology, and I felt like the system was assisting them with that.
Right.
Like you want to be.
Because it's designed to keep you like fucked up pretty much.
Oh, yeah. The pill line is longer than the line to the self-help
that's crazy to me. Like, how do you get, because pills, if you don't know this, it's basically synthetic heroin.
Straight up.
So why are they even giving that to inmates? And it's I can imagine if somebody sneaks it in, that's one thing, but you're telling me it's coming just from the actual system itself?
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
Well, the machine, I learned a lot while I was there. Eventually, I made it to prison, and I changed my life, and I started getting up into upper level inmate politics. And so I did learn that, you know, they make a certain amount of money for that. If they can enroll you in a certain kind of program, you end up being another number in that program. What amount of money in the budget is allocated for that particular lane, and they gonna fill it up. They gonna fill it up so that they can fill up that account. So that's really all it came down to. Hey man, I can't sleep at night. Here goes some medication. Boom, that's another man on the list. Another animal, another battery powering that particular budget. Period.
That's so crazy you say that, because it's the same thing like when doctors prescribe like Oxycontin or something. They're getting a kickback probably the same way these prison people are.
No doubt about it.
So you didn't want to get caught up in that per se, and you were like, I'm gonna start rapping.
Well, I never stopped. Rap for me was therapeutic. I wrote rhymes the way people, you know, write in their diaries, or that's just what I did. Right. And so I never stopped doing that particular thing, writing songs. And then I was calling home all the time, talking to Brother Lynch on, you know, salute. Shout out Brother Lynch too, another legend, man. Lynch. And so we'd be on the phone, and he'd be like, listen to this. This is what I just wrote. He bust something. And then I'd spit something back and forth, and people would be listening to that on the phone. And so they started recording those, you know, episodes, really just me and him. I wouldn't call it battling, but he would share something he wrote. I would share something I wrote, and we might do that back and forth for 45 minutes to an hour. He was my favorite rapper. I was his favorite rapper. And so if I liked it, he loved it. And if he liked it, I loved it. So I'm like, man, what you think about this verse? So we would do that over and over and over and over. And people just kept saying, man, people got to hear this stuff. Like, you crazy if you're not doing something with that. So the idea to record it really came from that. Just us spitting rhymes together on the phone, because that was the way we communed. Right. That was our shared joy.
So Trey D was telling me this too. You know Trey D?
Of course.
From out here. Trey D told me he recorded a whole album in jail when he was locked up this last time. Right. And I asked him, I was like, how do you even get the shit to record an album? Because he's not doing it through the phone. Like, he had the actual equipment. Yeah. I was like, how are you multi-tracking in prison?
Yeah.
Like,
somebody like a Trey D, you know, you probably have whatever you want in that environment. Right. You know what I mean? I'm not sure how much he said or didn't say. I've been kind of cautious with that. Some of those doors are still open for me who want to record or not record, so it ain't for me to be too specific. But for sure, if somebody wanted to make an album nowadays, it's a lot of easy ways to do it. You'd be surprised what $2 or $3 grand could get you in prison. Damn. You know what I mean? But also, you know, before I left, I paroled from R.J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego. By the time I left, I had built up so much positive political capital with the administration that we had designed a podcast program for the inmate population, had put a studio in there in the facility. Inside of the facility,
that's dope.
Jail Guitar Doors is a specific program I was working with. They also have a musicians program where they got live bass, drums, guitars, all of that. And so now anybody staying out of trouble could actually go and record music now with the music program.
That's good. That got to be therapeutic, man.
They're doing that at San Quentin too. It's very therapeutic. You know, all the trouble I got in trying to record music, as soon as I just stopped and started doing it through the Arts and Corrections program, everything I got in so much trouble trying to do, they let me do it anyway. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was just stop getting in so much trouble. I was abusing power.
Now, what's that like? Like, pretty much being a rap star, but you're in jail. So, I mean, you got to be getting word from people that, like, it's blowing up on the streets and people are really, really into it. Like, what's that dynamic like?
Man, I didn't understand that fully yet until, like, I saw myself in The Source. I saw that, you know, and back then that was big to be in The Source.
Yeah, don't get it twisted. Before these blogs, before all this other shit, The Source at one point was the Bible, man.
It was the Bible. Hip-hop. It really was. So that was a big deal. But the one that woke my game up, I'm looking for something to read, right? I read the articles in Playboy, so I get Playboy magazine. I'm looking at the articles, quote unquote, and so I come across myself in Playboy magazine, right? That was a lot
and you didn't know, like,
inspiring than the pictures, you know what I mean? Right? So I'm like, what the hell? It's a whole write-up about me in Playboy magazine, man. 1996. Damn. I think it was the September issue, Playboy 1996. Blew my mind. So that was when I was like, whoa, you know, that was Source. Lovely, right? Vibe, that was great, but
Playboy's mainstream.
Playboy is a different animal, and that's when I was like, all right, this stuff is.
You remember what they wrote about you?
They said if you want to know the definition, if you look up the definition of determination, you'll see a picture of this guy.
Damn.
Wow. That's what they said.
That's big. Now, how many albums did you release in total when you were incarcerated?
I did 6 with Black Market Records, and then I ended up doing probably another 8 of my own. Blockstar Entertainment, I started my own company, and then I did some compilation projects,
Right.
and so I kind of count those too. But it was, yeah.
Damn.
A lot.
I know there was a lot, because when I tell you, like, shout out East Union, Lancers lead others, follow us, or with the high school. Matika, shout them out real quick.
Salute.
All the time when I say, like, X-rated, like, it was the shit.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. I feel like I wrote a lot of those songs not knowing I was going to ever record them. I wrote them for myself. It was like, again, it was therapeutic. And so there was a certain kind of honesty that was in those songs, I think, that appealed to people, a certain kind of truth in them.
And it was raw. When you know, when you hear the phone and you hear the sound quality ain't the greatest, and like, it's like, you know it's coming from a real place. This ain't no fake shit, man.
Right. Yeah, and I think that meant a lot to people in search of realness in a culture that was built on realness and then became a corporate, entity. Hip hop is a different animal now, and the theatrics involved in it. So I think at the time it was something people knew was pure, for sure. Like, this right here is the realest thing you're gonna hear. Period. Yeah, it's the truth, and so I got a lot of credit for that, I think.
And then it's kind of crazy too. It got to be like an ill dynamic too, because I'm assuming you're getting paid for. You're starting your own business while you're in jail. Right. You're moving units. What's that like? Because it's like, man, I'm stuck in this box, but I'm doing all this tight shit.
Yeah, it was. It cut both ways. On one hand, it elevated me to the pretty much any yard I hit, I was the single brightest person there. Period. Yeah, that was till the day I left. I never hit a yard where it didn't disturb the way anybody moved. And so that had its pros and its cons. But on the downside, it generated a lot of hate. We got right now, we mourning the loss of Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace. Oh,
man. We're still, honestly, this whole building, it's still been a really somber mood around here, because we all knew Nipsey. We all loved Nipsey, man. So
yeah, and he was a beautiful person. His people, were right by my side, like, to the day I paroled. Big Ron just got out of prison. Salute to him. He paroled. He out here in L.A. He's a beautiful dude. He worked hard to get out of prison. I worked hard with him to make sure that his paperwork was right. So, I always just had a salute to Nipsey for that. His homies were real good to me when I was in prison, especially at the end. I didn't really have to worry about nothing. They let me just focus on going home, man. Pay attention to that. We got this. Right. And so, like, any little whisper with my name in it, they went to find out what that was. Okay, man, do you. Don't worry about that. And they did that to the day I walked out of there, man. And so I just got a huge appreciation for him. But that's an example of what I experienced inside of that environment. You just got people that are not pleased. I think I was almost unavoidable to somebody. Like, if you got a hater and he ain't got to think about you, that's one thing. But then I'm on the radio, the news pop up, I'm on the TV, they get in the magazine, I'm in the magazine. At some point, people just like, man, this dude right here, man. Yeah. So it was a
just
lot
natural. The hate, naturally, the hate comes out.
Yeah, but then you trapped with them. I can't just get up and drive across town and be like, you hating over here, I'm over here. Your next door neighbor hating, he gonna be your next door neighbor for 25 years.
And I gotta assume after a while that makes you paranoid, right? Because I mean, like, if you're around that all the time, you don't know who you could trust. You gotta always kind of watch your back.
Yeah, paranoia is only paranoia when you're wrong. When you're right, they call it intuition. And so, a lot of times existing in a state of hypervigilance is normal in that environment, but there's a certain kind of PTSD, I think, that comes with that. Yeah. The ramifications of it have impacted people in different ways, and the way it impacted me has kept me safe being free, really, because I'm hyper aware of my environment. I'm hyper aware of energies between people. When you're talking to somebody, you got to know, like, this right here ain't cool. If you could feel that, then there has to be action on it. In that world, you got to take action, because it's high risk, So I lived with that and dealt with that for 26 years, 6 months, and 24 days of my life. Damn. Straight, uninterrupted.
Damn. Now, if somebody's watching this and they're not familiar of your music, but now they're like, oh, man, I got to check this out. What would you say out of all those albums you record? Like, what's your magnum opus? What's your one where it's just like, that's the one you got to peep out?
To me, to me, the dopest album for somebody to understand is the execution of XRaided. It's the best work I ever did personally. But someone else, a fan, in my humble opinion, would say the Unforgiven Volume 1.
Yeah.
That's what they would say.
That's the one I always hear brought up is Unforgiven.
Yeah, for sure.
All the time.
Yeah, Macaframa Lama, you know, Mortal Kombat. There's a lot on there. Mama's Pride and Joy. A lot of those songs meant something to people. That's they me against the world. That was their all eyes on me to them. And so,
because I'm telling you, you could feel those words, man. It was just raw, you know. And sometimes that rawness, the good sound quality is cool, but sometimes that don't. Yeah. That don't give you that feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
So you're in jail all this time. You had no idea you're gonna get out, right? Or how did that even happen? Because I didn't hear anything about. Like when I saw you do an interview, I think on Thizzler.
Yeah,
and I just follow them on YouTube, and I saw it pop up on my feed, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah, salute to Thizzler, man. That's my little second home right there. They show me a lot of love. I pull up on them, Matt, the whole staff over there. They've been real good to me. But I didn't know I was coming home. It was a matter of faith. There came a point where I existed. Like, I know all about darkness. I tell people, like, man, it's one thing to, like, pretend. I did gangster. I believed in gangster. I believed in the hustle attitude. I believed in cripping above any and everything that you could possibly name, including my family. I believed in cripping more than I believed in my own family.
Damn.
And ultimately, that I came to understand that was a completely inappropriate way to exist. I came to understand that as a human being. And so that required education. Like, where do I go now? I've been completely miseducated intentionally, you know, what I did to myself and what the conditions of my community did for me as well. And so I had to work on my spirituality, my psychology. I had to rebuild myself. I had to invent a father for myself from historical figures, a little bit of MLK, a little bit of Malcolm, a little bit of Robert Kennedy's writings. I had to grab input from these sources I respected.
So you got to reprogram yourself.
I literally had to do that. Solomon. I had to take the writings and works of people that I respected and say, this is what I believe. This is who I would like to be. This is what a dad would have told me if I had one that was talking, right? And so I did that for myself. And there came a point where I believe I appeared to have been rehabilitated and other people started seeing it.
Yeah.
Other people, you know, counselors inside of that environment. It started really with the doctors for me, who started saying, hey, you know, you realize that if you just do A, B, C, and D, you're going to go home. They trying to let you go home, and you changed your life, but you didn't do it for us. There's no proof. But anybody look like, man, this fool got a house. This fool got all this stuff. He got a beautiful family.
Shit, doing most people out of prison.
Yeah, he owns business. He got a business. You know, upon close inspection, and start saying, man, why don't you put that in your file? Why don't you start? I'm like, how the hell you do that? So doctors started teaching me that. And after that, correctional counselors. And then from there, it just went up and up and up. And people started feeling like I was an example for change. And similar to what Nipsey did on the street. You know, that's what I did in the pen. I started programs for other men. I joined the POOCH program, Prisoners Overcoming Obstacles, Creating Hope. I trained service dogs for wounded warriors and autistic kids. I graduated so far into that, promoted that I started training staff to train dogs. So I started training people instead of dogs. They moved me up that far. And so the warden appreciated that. That made it all the way up to the Secretary of Corrections, the commissioners from the Board of Parole Hearings, and ultimately Jerry Brown. And so...
Okay, Jerry Brown.
Yeah, you know, that's a big deal. That governor's office had to, you know, approve me coming home.
How did you get the attention of Jerry Brown? Was he a low-key fan?
I don't know about that. Hey, you know, he lived in Oakland. No, he lived in Oakland. He lived
Jerry
in Oakland.
Brown.
You never know. Shout out to Jerry Brown and Gavin Newsom, you know, straight up. But you know him.
Gavin Newsom might low-key be a fan. He looks like one of them like white boys that's like low-key down with some dope shit.
They gave Kendrick an award, you know what I mean? And I think Kendrick
he might have a black side piece,
for Gavin.
You know what I'm saying, Gavin?
Yeah, I believe, you know, the dude is a good dude. And for sure, you know, they looked at my life and thought the single most important question in releasing somebody from prison is, do you pose a threat of violent recidivism in the community?
Right.
That's the single greatest question they're going to have. And if they think anything indicates that you do, you're not going home, period. Nothing to talk about. The court's not going to want to hear your appeal, nothing. You pose a threat, period. That threat could be as minute as anything they could find. But it doesn't say what has to be, you know, the big one. It's any threat at all. So, okay, this person's a liar. That poses a threat of violent recidivism. It's for anything that they could find. And so I had to go to parole hearing after parole hearing. I went to 2.5, actually, which for me was traumatic, and for the victim's family was traumatic. But I'm looking at other people. Big Ron went to several of them.
Right.
Several of them. Everybody didn't have it that, you know, easy, I guess. I wouldn't want to call it easy. It was not easy, but some people had a more difficult time than I did. Because
I got to imagine they're trying to look for any excuse they can to, like,
anything.
Basically not let you get out or get anything, really, man.
Yes, that's a fact. But, I mean, you know, they're looking at you like, do I want this person to be a neighbor? Would my children be safe if you live next door to me? And so that's a hell of a job. I'm empathetic to them people. You know what I mean? That's a hard thing. And they looking at some horrible files. People coming through there with some terrible stuff. They done heard every story. You know, you let a person go. You only need one person to snatch somebody's kid, one person to snatch some woman or something that been released by way of that person's name. And then it's all bad forever. You know what I mean? Their career and everybody else trying to get out of prison who would do the right thing. And so we all bear a responsibility, those of us who were lifers, to actually demonstrate that we can be successfully reintegrated into society so that other brothers who had that potential can come home too. I don't want to be the reason that they tell somebody else we don't think you should be released from prison, period.
So you got out how long ago?
September 14th, 2018.
Damn.
I still got the new car smell.
I'm about to say, like, do you just trip out about everything? Like, do you just see, like, walk down the street and just see someone and be like, damn.
Yeah, I do that all the time. I got a condo in the Bay. It's a beautiful place. You know, I got a home out in Vegas. It's a beautiful place. And so, you know, when I'm on a plane looking at just down at the clouds, like I was at my lowest low, and now I'm like literally above the clouds. And so I have a lot of surreal moments, big ones, where I'll be looking up at the sky. You can see all the stars at my place in Vegas. We out there away from the lights, lightweight, so we could see all the lights.
What part of Vegas? I used to live in Vegas.
It's
too,
Lake Las Vegas. I'm up in
I know what's up.
I'm up the way. It's beautiful up there, you know what I mean? And so it's just surreal, man.
Yeah.
And I prayed for this stuff. I fasted. I asked very specifically. I had one of my teachers told me, man, you know, ask God for something that he could only give you because you asked him for it. Like, don't have no coincidental prayers. Like, pray for something huge.
Yeah.
So
don't pray for some Yeezys or some dumb shit.
And then be like, yeah, God did it. And, like, you believe in him or you don't. You believe in the universe or you don't. Like, ask for something that you asked for that when you get it, you're going to be like, damn.
Oh, you picked a good one.
Damn. So I pray for that. I very specifically, I didn't want to be one of them dudes that pray for $1 million and get 1 million deer. You know what I mean? So I prayed, I want to be free. I want to be safe. I want to be successful. I want to be an asset to my community. I want to be an asset to my family. Like, I prayed very specifically and fasted for it, and then went about making sure my works matched my requests. And ultimately, they started popping off.
What does that feel like the day you get out? After what, 26 years, right?
Yeah, 26 years, 6 months.
What's that, like the day you're out and you can see the sky and you could smell like grass?
It was traumatic, man. That day was traumatic. They woke me up at 3 in the morning, right? I don't know if it is a downside of being famous, you know. Some people tell me it was the last middle finger I got. I'm not sure so much as it just was over. They were trying to be make sure they were covered. But they woke me up at 3 in the morning, put me in a cage. And I was with Eric and La Menendez. They're very close friends of mine. And they both told me that, like, don't be surprised, because they all kept trying to say goodbye to me that night. I'm like, I'll see y'all fools in the morning, like, because I see everybody else that paroled, went to breakfast, brought their stuff down and left after that. I'm like, I'll see all y'all fools tomorrow, man. I'm good. You know what I mean? All my partners kept coming, man. Good night. We love you, man. Be safe. You know, we rooting for you. We want the best for you. Man, I see y'all in the morning. They was like, bro, don't be surprised.
Does a part of your brain almost think you've been there for so long that you ain't really leaving?
Nah.
Or you knew you were out?
Yeah, I knew I was
about
gone.
this bitch.
I knew it. I knew it. At that point, May 1st, I got the grant, and then about September, maybe the 5th of September, I was notified that the governor was not going to dispute my release. And so they told me specifically, like, they called me to the counselor. I thought they was calling to tell me it was all bad, actually, that day, because they like, you got to go to a different building, and it was a mental health building. And I'm like, this is the bad news building, bro.
Yeah.
They don't call you over here to tell you good news, man. So I thought it was all bad, but when I got over there, they was like, hey, man, you heard, has anybody told you? I was like, no. Told me what? He was like, you leaving like any second now, and they pushing. And they pushing. I left faster than anybody else that I've been able to locate. Like they like somebody from high up was calling them repeatedly saying, why is he still there? So we kind of find out I had actually supposed to have been gone maybe a week before that. I had been approved to go prior to when they actually told me. I think I found out on the 10th, and I was actually approved on the 5th of September. Right after Labor Day. And so that was a beautiful experience. You know what I mean? I left there, called home, told my family what was going on.
Right.
And everything.
That's the thing, too. Like, when you got out, like, you're able to at least come home to your family.
Yeah.
You have a wife, girlfriend?
Wife, man.
Wifey.
Yeah.
So she held you down.
The whole time, rocked with me, right there by my side. Gotta salute it. Gotta salute it. Facts. And so, look, they wake me up 3 in the morning, put me in a cage, take me to R&R. They give me my clothes, put some chains on me, waist chains, manacles, ankle chains. Take me, I had to, like, hey, man, check this out. I need to be able to call my family. I got a camera crew waiting outside. They did let me call my wife, put me in a van inside of a cage, literally a cage, chain that up. And
so you're free, but you're still chained up.
I had to ride from San Diego to Oakland.
Damn.
Wearing chains in a cage on the day I was
But you're supposed to be free at this point.
Right. And now I got to modulate in my mind like, okay, it's all good. You could just relax. I had to tell myself that. I'm looking out the window, tripping off of like, wow, this is, I'm free, but I got these chains on. And I think something about that experience, there we go. Very
mind fuck analogy,
massively.
Universal lesson before you get out.
Right. It's something I never forgot because even though they took them chains off, I could still feel them. I still feel them, bro. I still feel that cage on my knees. I could still feel it. And I think I needed that. The chains are off, but they still there. I'm free, but there's still something there. And that kind of keeps me a little bit on my toes. Like, wait, I think Mandela probably could still feel it too when he finally came home.
Yeah, man. Like, even hearing you describe it, I feel it.
Yeah.
It's
a real thing.
And it's like a...
Like amputees. They still feel the foot. They still feel the arm. I still feel the chains, bro.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that it got to last with you forever now at this point.
I think it will. I still feel it, the weight of it, everything. I can feel them.
Damn, man. So you're out. So that's a blessing. That's great news. So I know we're getting a new album. I know we're getting some music. We're getting something.
For sure.
Now, you still going to rap over the phone? Or are you going to have a microphone this time?
Hey, you know what? People keep asking me to do it. They
you might have to do one over the phone,
one,
man.
at least a song. I might have to do a phone tap part 2 for the people. You never know what'll happen. But right now, I got a great situation. We signed it with BMG. The lawyers are still wrangling over little small details. I'm in a beautiful situation with Brian Shaft and Jacor Lamont, the people over at RBC Records. And that's home to Tech 9. That's home to E40. That's on the Chief Keef and Waka Flocka Flame. So, I'm in a great situation. We just need to cross a couple T's and dot a couple I's. I'll be able to sign that deal maybe in a week. Right. My lawyer told me this morning it'd be done within a week.
And it didn't take long because I'm assuming these labels have to, your track record speaks for itself. Indeed. I can only imagine if you did all of that while incarcerated, what can this man do when he has access to everything he really needs, to get it popping?
Yeah, I think they believe that. Brian Shafter, to me, is a special, it's a special circumstance. I was still in prison, still had 31 to life, but he gave me a deal for Blockstar Entertainment. And my ego is correctly located, man. I never thought I wouldn't say I wasn't worthy of the deal,
right?
But in comparison to a Tech 9, that I couldn't fulfill that deal. I couldn't tour. I couldn't fulfill the deal in a way that would justify him giving it to me. So he gave it to me for some other reason. So I was a R&D, research and development project for Brian Shaft, and he believed I was going to come home. Damn. He thought somebody of this kind of quality, this kind of family, this doesn't make sense that he going to be in there. So I think he gave me the deal, to keep me in the family, keep me close. And I came home and honored that, right around the time when RBC Records was sold to BMG. I think the day I got out was the day that BMG was purchased RBC Records. The day I came home. And so I was already in their system because of a couple of other records that I had given them when I was in prison. But nothing comparable to what I'm capable of now, of course. And so once I got home, I called Brian. He let me know what was going on. He was dealing with the integration with BMG. And I put out the execution of XRaided myself, just kind of show that I could.
Mm-hmm.
I think people really respected it. Everybody that's ever heard it has respected it. It's a very, very well thought out project and cinematic even. And so it resulted in us being in negotiations with BMG to go ahead and lock the deal and do something a little bigger.
Dude, your story is so tight. Like, it's crazy, man.
It's ill.
Like, I trip out. Like, I'm really just sitting here, like, tripping out, like, what you're saying, like, and what you've lived through. And
it's crazy.
Have you found a lot of artists have, like, reached out to you since you've been out?
Yeah, I've been getting some random, unusual phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
It's a trip. A lot of really good stuff too. Like this morning, EA Ski hit me up.
Oh, what up, Ski?
Yeah, Ski's legendary. On the boards, the mix and master king. You know what I mean? If you can't get Dre, you might want to holler at EA Ski straight up. He got that quality. And so I talked to him this morning about a record that we working on. He already got my vocals and the beat, everything. He's just waiting for BMG.
Where do you feel like you fit in with this new climate? Because obviously it's like it's damn near a new genre of music, this new wave.
Thank you.
And it's like...
Yeah, well, that element been trying to penetrate the culture for a long time. When disco dissolved, everybody tried to run in hip-hop. And, house music tried to penetrate the culture. For a little bit, they pulled it off lightweight, and then
we were just talking about that yesterday. I hated that era of hip-hop. The whole, ringtone era, dance. I hated that shit, man.
They've tried repeatedly, and now here we are. EDM, other things have penetrated the culture, call themselves hip-hop, but clearly it's not hip-hop music. And so I think that there needs to be I saw a thing a blog that DMC did recently where he was saying we got to redefine hip-hop. What is and is not hip-hop, even if it means that the real hip-hop got to become a subgenre. That happened to jazz. Everybody jumped into jazz. Everybody that could play a clarinet wanted to, acted like they was equal to Miles Davis all of a sudden.
Fam.
And it's not the same thing. Cab Calloway, salute to Kenny G, but Cab Calloway.
Kenny G ain't no Miles, ain't no, man.
Thank you. And, he make, my mama loved her some Kenny G, but that was not Cab Calloway, bro. That was not Miles Davis. And some would argue that was not traditional jazz. You know, that's something you would have heard in Harlem in the 30s.
It wasn't. It was gentrified jazz.
It was not. Thank you. I agree. And now what we listening to is gentrified hip-hop, period.
Damn.
And they gonna go for it or they not. I remember Oasis, one of the frontmen from Oasis was talking about trying to maintain the purity of rock music and a lot of things that was happening to rock, once because rock went through some evolutions, that weren't all pretty. And I think the Nirvanas came and the Pearl Jams and Oasis. You had certain groups that maintain the integrity of rock music to allow for the Green Days and other people to pop up that was making what people could enjoy as rock music again. I think hip-hop is in that boat right now. Somebody, it don't got to be me. I'm not, selfish. I would like it to be me, and I'm going to throw mine out there. I'm going to roll my dice. But somebody got to make some traditional hip-hop and say, this is what this culture was based on. This is what this music is,
I think you have the spurts. You have like the J. Coles. You got the Kendricks. You got Joey Badass. His first album was really
good. Yeah.
So I think you get the spurts. Honestly, I think when you talk traditional hip hop and what we kind of know it for, I think the Bay Area does a great job of holding it. I think LA does the West Coast period because it's like cats out here are still really rapping and the sound is updated, but it's like they never lost their roots in it. So
there came a point now where you could do 2 measures out of 4. say something for 2 measures out of 4 and they consider that a rap. You know, there's a lot more words in a written song.
Yeah. Well, there ain't no words now.
Now it's just 1, 2. I'm coming through and getting money. 1, 2. Everybody think it's funny. 1, 2. I'm better than all of y'all.
The rest of the verse is just hey.
Hey, that might have been a hit right there. We just blew it.
Don't copy that. We trademarked that.
Straight up. And so, you know, I look at it like it's dark and hell is hot. You know what I mean? 1998 DMX.
Classic album. One of my
Capital
favorite albums
Punishment,
of all time.
Big Pun.
Were we just not just talking about all of these albums yesterday?
Slim Shady LP. You know, that's just 98, 99. That's just 98, 99, that year. And then we could talk about 88. So 88 and 98 hip-hop, those two critical
moments.
Always
good years when you think about it, man.
They really are.
Always good years in every era.
Always.
What do we get in 88? We got Eric B. and Rakim.
Follow the Leaders.
Boogie Down, right? Did we get Slick Rick that year?
We got Boogie Down Productions. Nah, Slick Rick, The Great Adventures came out the next year, but we did get Straight Outta Compton that year. You know
and then
what I mean?
98.
Yeah.
Outkast, Aquemini,
yeah.
Jay-Z Volume 2.
Ja Rule, Vinny Vetti Vetti. It's Dark and Hell is Hot. We got the Slim Shady LP that year. We got Capital Punishment from Big Pun that year. 98 was a critical year for hip-hop. Def Jam was on a good one. And so, you know, something like that got to happen again where there's just, and I'm sure it will, there's someone out there, someone's who are making something fire and we just don't know it yet. And so the culture will be just fine. It's cyclical. It'll come back around where bars matter again and approaches to beats matter again. Because right now, a trap beat, a decent ad lib, and you pretty much just say anything and you're good.
I'll even go as far to say, like, I don't even think it's a bad sound, and I see why people like it, but I just think anything, if once everybody takes it and everybody uses that style, it just becomes so just redundant. It's like, all right, come on,
it ain't hip-hop, though. And I remember...
and this coming from somebody who actually, not saying it's bad music, but it's not hip-hop,
It's not hip-hop, and that's okay. Like, if somebody said, hey, I got this song, like, I love drum and bass. That wasn't hip hop though. But I bumped me some Tricky. It was
Tricky, Ronnie Size.
Yeah, bro. And so I would bump that, but I was never confused that it was hip hop.
Right.
So if somebody told me, "Hey, listen to Lil Pump," and I'm like, you know, even though actually he barred up. Honestly, I've been listening to some of the stuff.
Like a lot of bitch, we ignorant.
Yeah, hey,
okay, Little Pump.
Yeah, I'm actually been checking him out, and he barred up. So I can't. He's actually a bad example in my humble opinion. The dude is kind of barred up. To me, if you barred up, you want to use trap beats, that's on you. But if you barred up, it's harder to criticize him than it is. Because J. Cole is on trap beats on some of his newer stuff.
But he be rapping though.
But he barred up. He barred up. So trap is trap hip hop. You know, to say trap ain't hip-hop, I don't know if that's fair. We've always had different kind of, but back in the day, you remember when all the bass music existed? DJ Magic Mike, Nemesis, back in the day, Ron Steve, they used to make deep bass car show music. It was all about the trunk. It wasn't about bars, none of that. MC Shy D, you had a lot of that going on, Luke and them. But even Luke was more in the traditional realm of hip hop. But every now and then he'll make something that just was throw that, and it'd just be OG, just a sample here and there, a lot of bass, 130
BPM.
Yeah, you never know what it was, and so that was different. But nobody caught that. Nobody confused that with pure hip hop.
Right.
It was a genre, a strain of hip hop, but nobody thought it was hip hop.
Right.
And now ultimately, that's pretty much the predominant thing.
And I even take that, like, even if you, because it is of the culture of hip hop.
For sure.
These are like our nephews and sons and brothers and shit. But to call it like, because I grew up on the hip hop where it was like the elements, graffiti, breakdancing, MCing, DJing. You know what I mean? And that was like, so this is a great debate conversation to have because you can go all day talking about it, man.
Yeah, truly. And it's a quality conversation to have. You know, I think that it's necessary. The culture should define itself. I can't decide that I'm a football player, but I don't care about pass interference.
Right.
I don't care about holding. I don't care about face mask. I can't come into the NFL and say F your rules. I got 1 foot in, that's a touchdown. It's like, no, actually, according to the rules, you're going to get 2 feet in, and then it's a touchdown, but now it's try. So hip-hop at some point has
technically, in football, you got to break the plane, but you know, I'm just saying, just technically.
And you got to control the catch.
Yes.
Through the fall, I guess.
While breaking the plane.
While breaking
play or whatever.
Very complicated. So maybe that is a good analogy, because at some point hip hop has to say, what the hell is a catch and what is not? You know, meaning what is and is not acceptable in the culture, and who are the vanguard to be able to defend it and say, hey man, that ain't a catch. Period. You're out of here. You know, go try again, punt something, kick a field goal. That ain't it. You know, that's pass interference, meaning this is not the bars. This is not hip hop. What you doing is not hip hop. Somebody got to start saying that, because I know for sure I can't throw on a basketball jersey, run out on the field, and tell the Rams that, hey, you know, I'm here to play. My nigga Ty Gurley can't show up and dress like he ready to go to Staples Center and be like, check this out, man. This is what I'm wearing today. They're going to be like, where you?
LeBron, pass me the ball.
Yeah, we need your cleats. You just, you know, so I think hip-hop got a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
And then, though, if you reject it too strongly, they hit you with all kind of, oh, you got homophobia, or it's he doesn't want change in the culture. They'll go to all of the low blows.
You an old head.
You grumpy. And it's like, look, man, I don't care what you want to wear, man. It was some of the Sugar Hill gang, you know, they was giving the village people a run for their money. Right? Melly Mel, Grandmaster Fly.
Were we just not having this conversation?
Right? Because the truth doesn't belong to anybody. Yeah. So y'all was having an honest conversation. You reached out there in your thoughts honestly and said, this is A, B, C, and D. And I'm doing the same thing. We're going to come to similar conclusions because we reaching for the same stuff, honestly. That's all it is.
Damn. Well, hey, man. Thank you for this interview. I think people are going to get a lot of just value out of it, man.
I hope so.
New music on the way, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, where can your home? We need to respect you as such, as a legend, for putting it down in the game for a long time. Where can we reach out? Where can we just find out the latest on you?
Yeah, anybody looking for me, I'm on Instagram, official XRaided. Official spelled traditionally, XRaided, XRaided 1. Official XRaided 1. On Instagram, that'll lead you everywhere else. You know what I mean? I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube, XRaided, XRaided. Got some videos up there for the people. And we barred up and we working.
And it's rated, not rated. Because then some other stuff might pop up. But
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm not responsible for incorrect spellings of my name.
If Pornhub pops up, you spelled something wrong.
Yeah.
You definitely got to come back when the album drops, man.
Anytime, man.
Definitely got to come back.
Yeah, I would love that.
And then when you come back when the album drops, we're gonna have just a music conversation because you said some things. You was talking about Oasis and Tricky, and so I know me and you could probably go really deep in that music conversation. So
yeah, I love music, man.
Yeah, me too. Me
love
too,
it.
man.
The whole thing.
That's what it is. 935 K-Day, XRaided.
Hey.